continue to be a fun but safe place for everyone. So just I don't know, be kind to your fellow raider, and if you need to, you can always bring things to Officer Corps. We will handle that as best we can. Make sure that all parties are properly and kindly dealt with. Shenanigans aside, thank you for me needing to start off with an HR response, Pika. As silly and we lost one. All right. Losing my train of thought. Let's see. We'll circle back now. We'll get actually started. First off, hello. My name is Day, and I have been a Wowaholic for the past 20 years. Anyone who doesn't know me, as we do have some new people, I've been playing this since closed beta, not on my account, but started on my brother's account. As whenever he was gone, I would hop on his computer and play the crap out of closed beta. So, been doing this for a while. That being said, I have had some time away from the game at points, and I am coming back into this pretty full force. Started kind of back in season 2 of The War Within, moved through end of season 2 all the way into now with Horizon. Started off doing some community stuff, moved into Prog, and then up into Officer. Now apparently they want me to do some raid leading. I don't know what's gotten in the water, but don't drink it. With all of that said, I have some incredibly large shoes to fill. Cinder is the reason why I wanted to raid so badly with the team at first. I was very impressed with his raid leading, his demeanor, and his knowledge. I will try my best. Things might change. I would love feedback and help. And there's no goddamn way that I'm fitting in those 16s. I am a size 9, size 10 shoe at best. So,
are Cinder's feet actually 16?
I don't know.
Underwear.
Moving on. Thank you, Ellie. Just wanted to get that out of the way. There are some definite changes coming, and I'm going to keep them as minimal as possible. I'm going to be filling what I can. If ever there's something that you are not getting from me or the team and you would like to see more of, or anything else, early and often feedback directly to me or the team is very welcome. I want this to be a constructive thing for everyone. That being said, moving into this season, we have roughly the same expectations for Raiders. We do have some posts. I'd like to start off by directing everyone to our Prog announcements. I had put something in there. I think I might have screwed up when I initially posted it, so you might not have gotten a notification, but it is in there, and we'll be just kind of going over a few things, but I'd ask you to review that as well. Just expectations around interpersonal relations, not relationships. If you guys are having those, I don't need to know. If you have any sort of issues with your fellow raiders, I ask that you just bring that again to officers right away. And then also just adhering to all of our standards around raid time expectations and outside of raid expectations when it comes to M+ and Vault. Quick note, while everyone is here and still paying attention to my voice, the Vault priority right now is getting 3. We need 3 slots with at least 2 after we get through the early season silliness being 10s. So you'll 2 vaults of Mythic 10, which is 4 Mythic 10s, and then 1 one vault of really anything. That way you can guarantee getting a bonus roll. We'll get into some of the loot stuff as we go, but I just wanted to make sure that that was early and that everyone hears that. There's no questions on that. All right. Any questions so far? I'm going to keep trying to stop as I go so that I'm not just waterboarding everyone. Silence is a good thing. All right. UI and visibility. This is one thing I wanted to bring up as we kind of move into next season, which is why I have my WoW open right now. So if everyone's looking at my stream, if you're not, please go ahead and do so. We'll get moving into some other things outside of me just streaming the WoW here. I'll be pulling up the rest of the class. This is my UI. I have spent countless hours trying to get it better and refine it. I would just ask that if you haven't done the same, that you at the very least try to spend 5 minutes thinking about the placements of where you have things on your screen and just making sure that it's visible and that it's not in an awkward place. If you need to retrain your eyes, I would have you do that at the start of the season instead of partway through. Making sure that, just try to find one thing that you move somewhere else that is going to make it a little bit easier for you. If you need any help with that or have any questions about how I have mine set up, want to get yours looking like mine or nothing at all like mine, I am a good resource for that. We also have a UI chat for assistance on that, but something that I wanted to get early in this conversation is just to spend a little bit of time on that in the preseason. Same vein, movement and keybinds. I've spent a number of hours with our raiders talking about their keybinds and making sure that they make sense so that you can still WASD while doing everything else. So please make sure that you are, again, looking at how you can optimize your keybinds. If you are going to rip that Band-Aid off, I'd say, again, do it now before the season starts, and then just kind of grind it out. Any questions around that, again, please hit me up. Moving into some more specific things, making sure that you have add-ons. We do have our add-on list in that same post that I have for the Prog announcements. There's a link to it in there. We have one additional add-on. Make sure that you get that installed before our season starts. We also do have this awesome tool for this week. If you don't know what you're supposed to be doing, there's a link for this weekly checklist, and it will tell you everything for this week that you can be doing. So I've already checked off all of my stuff for this week, and then it will show me what I have for next week. It'll also show you your great vault and all of your other currencies. So awesome tool if you want to utilize it. It's in the Prog announcement. If you want, there's a link to it, but it is
so Larius's
weekly checklist. Yep. So if we've got some gamers going on tonight in through the weekend, this is an awesome tool to just kind of crank everything out. All right. That being said, everyone should also know how to sim early season. I also want to make sure that you are simming early and often, making sure that you go through all of the crazy amounts of loot that you are guaranteed to get if you are doing your checklist. I haven't quite gone through everything that I have, but I will be doing that here this weekend. Simcraft, and we also have a bunch of people who know how to use that. If you have not used that or need help or have someone who has premium who can do a little bit more options for you, go ahead and reach out again to myself or the officer team. Again, just make sure you go back to the announcements and check the add-ons and tools. So, any questions with all of that? I'm gonna cancel out a WoW and get into some boss review here. All right. So, I have some raid plans, and I have my own personal notes, but quite literally today I was going through looking at stuff and I found this. And this, I think, does a far more thorough job in spelling out everything and allowing you to view and go over all of these different abilities. And then if you want, you can say, hey, show me the exact names or show me the spell nicknames. So in these instances, you can say, hey, it's a tank buster versus possession barrage. So I love that little tool. I'm going to go ahead and link this in Prog. And I just ask that if you want to have the time, definitely get familiar with this because it is a super cool tool and awesome reference. I will be making some more mythic guides and mythic raid plans around what we will be doing specifically. But for the time being, rather than go through this, I actually think this has a little bit better. So last minute curveball. You just want to kind of run this by everyone. But let me get Nexali pulled up. So Nexali is a pretty chaotic, pretty intense first boss for us. It has been noted as probably the buggiest and hardest first boss in quite some time. Hopefully the bugs are fixed. That being said, it is still very chaotic. It is going to be basically 2 phases with an intermission, and the entire time is a lot of just managing ad chaos. So starting off, when the ads spawn, you can either lust on pull or during phase 2. There's a bunch of pools to draw to dodge, so standard mechanic slot. There are ads that you will spawn in, and try to get to the ads here. Here they are. So specifically, all of these ads will have a magic damage shield on them, and what we need to do is break that shield. Once the shield is broken, I think you can see it up on this top one. It might be kind of poor image quality, but hopefully you can see that with my stream. Once the magic damage shield is broken, they are tankable, meaning that they will stop moving directly towards the well. Every time a ad reaches the well, there's a large amount of raid-wide damage that goes out. On Heroic and Mythic, that increases by 15% damage every time that goes off. So it very quickly becomes a hard wipe. So making sure during the shield, they can be CC'd in every form. They can be gripped, feared, stunned, all of that, but they will not be tauntable with aggro. They will just continue on their path so long as they are not impaired. So name of the game is hit the largest group of them, get the shields off, and then clear the rest of them with their shields and get them away from the well and onto a tank. For that, you want to clear the ads. Another thing to note, there is a puddle that you will get a debuff. Everyone that gets the debuff runs out to the edge. You see the little arrows there. They run to the edge, and as soon as they are on the edge, they get dispelled by a healer. Once they're dispelled, it drops a puddle. Get out of the puddle, otherwise you die. Pretty straightforward. The tank buster coming in here, I want to point this out. It's been noted on PTR that for whatever reason, how this works is if you are anywhere north of halfway on that tank buster, it will hit you. So melee, you have to be all the way behind the boss. when this is going off. You can't be stood to the side or in its hitbox because it will hit you. This tank buster is a range one, so you see this tank running far. When that happens, it'll just do a raid wide splash based off of distance. So there's that splash, and thing comes back in.
Sorry, so it's a cleave or it's a like a bomb?
It is
Roll-off
it's multiple shots that go off at the tank. There's basically ads, or like what appear to be ads. It's just missiles that go off on the tank one after another. You see them kind of like marching. I don't know if you can.
It's fall off AoE. Fall off AoE, but it can be intercepted if we're not careful. So
yes, yeah. So they are hitbox missiles that go to the tank.
Is that a bug?
Fall off AoE.
Or is that
What do you mean? It's how it's supposed to be for the most part. Just noticing right now that the hitbox as it's coming out of the boss is extremely punishing. That might get changed before live, but basically it starts at the center of the boss, and they're fairly large, and it goes the entire way, and they're also fairly wide. So melee have to be playing pretty much at the back edge, max melee range to not get hit. So, yep, cool. That being said, then we kind of go through this, get into, you'll see these coffins rattling. That's how you can determine where the ads will be spawning. You want to bring the boss to where the most amount of coffins are so that we can deal with the most amount of ads possible at that same time. So they get a pretty lucky one where it's all at the same time. You notice they're breaking the shields while again dealing with that tank frontal. And you'll notice as those shields break, the bars go purple on the tank bars because they are now aggroable. So now shield's broken, the tank has aggro, and they can be grouped up and killed. The other ones that still have the shields on them are being CC'd and knocked towards the group. Go ahead.
If we don't break the shield, they make it to the world, so wipe.
It is not a guaranteed wipe, but it very quickly will become one. It does a large amount of group damage, and then followed up by 15% increased damage for every consecutive one. So I don't know how many are livable, but best to avoid any if possible. Some of them can spawn on the very, very far side. If that happens, grips are very useful to get them the full way. So getting used to just the grip, run, grip, the double grip situation. Go figure, DK raid buff is again grips. So that being said, knockbacks and stuns are also super valuable here to make sure that while they're getting broken that they're grouped up and on us. It's really as much as you can to get them grouped up with their ads, with the ads on their corpses is the best thing you can possibly do. If the ads corpses die in the same area, it makes the next part much simpler. So we'll just kind of go through until we find this. Real quick, these will come out. They're pretty easy to dodge and get out of. Those are pretty straightforward. They can just be avoided, but you'll see more ads. In P2, those circles will move, but we'll show you that here after we get to. Okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. I want to show you the corpses. The corpses are something that you clear, but before then, there is an intermission phase. When we get to the intermission, the big ads spawn. There's two of them. There's two shades, and there's a beam that comes out that you'll see here. And as that beam comes out, it is not the easiest thing to see, but it is there, and it does do a significant amount of damage, so you need to stay out of that beam or you die. So that will split the raid if we're dealing with ads on both sides of them. Do not be caught crossing when those beams are going out. So we've got the ads killed, we've got puddles dropped, we have 2 big ads spawning, dodging the laser. Following that, you will kill the big ad. And then while you're killing the big ads, it's continuing to deal with any remaining ads. And then you get fire. So this is how you clear. I'll slow this down. This is how you clear all of the ads. And you want your tank and half of the raid to be in the big circle. This is a soak. So it's a big fire circle, and you want as many ads as you can in that single fire circle. When you do that, it clears them. They don't have any ability to come back, and you don't have to deal with that. So now the only other thing is dealing with all of the other ones around the room. And to do that, you have the other half of the raid that will get their own personal debuff on them for not taking the soak. While they have that debuff, the entire half of the raid that stood out of the soak is now taking pretty large ticking damage. Not crazy, but definitely worth keeping an eye on, having something ready for possible light defensives, personals. And then everyone that has their personal one is required to go try to find any remaining corpses and stand on them. Once that is cleared, obviously then you kill the rest of the corpses, and then again one more tank where you rotate half of the other half soaking and the other half now being individual.
Clear the dead corpses, we just run on top of it with the circle?
Yep, it just has to be touching.
Okay, and then all of the circles despawn at a certain time?
I believe so. I didn't get clarification on that. Let me double check. I have my notes here.
My understanding from the videos I watched was it's when the circle expires, it's a little bomb,
Yes.
and that destroys the corpses. So it's not like Gnarl Root.
It doesn't have to be dispelled or anything. Believe it's 5 seconds. So then afterwards, it seems like it's a little longer than 5 seconds off of this video, but yeah, then it will pop a little bomb and clear any remaining ads. After that intermission where we kill the 2 big ads, we go into phase 2. Phase 2 is basically just phase 1, but more. Welcome to Mechanic Slop. It is the name of the game. While you are dealing with more ads coming out, you are again dealing with these circles, but now they will move around the room. And whilst they move around the room, you have to continue to move out of wherever they might stop, which can impede things like killing ads, CCing ads, or doing cleave damage. So just be aware of that. May have to do some adjustments, different knocks with like blowback or whatever else we can do to get them out of the puddle if we need to kill ads. But then just making sure that you're not killing yourself by standing in the circles as they move. Really, it just becomes a DPS burn at that point. The invoke puddles on the ground, move around randomly, and you just kill it until she gets to full energy. Once she gets to full energy, it is a guaranteed wipe. So the entire thing can be pretty much summed up into killing the ads, or at least first managing the ads, killing off the shields, tanking them together, killing ads, dodging circles, and then we have 2 more ads to deal with in intermission, getting the fire to clear the corpses, and then just kind of repeating. This
was
one,
pretty
honestly, more than anything else, looked very chaotic compared to a lot of the other fights. The other fights have a little bit more scripts. This is wherever the ad spawns, you deal with it. So
And
having oh, sorry, I'll let you go. What's the
so
question?
I was just wondering why we don't save lust for the burn phase.
It is a combination of either doing Lust on Star or on P2. It's either or. I think it might
There's
make
just
more.
less stuff going on in P1. We get more
Yeah,
value.
it might make sense to save it for P2 if we are struggling, but I think the early damage to just burn it down makes sense as well. We have just overall more damage in, and that means less time on boss, less ads coming out, less fuck ups to deal with. Questions on that one? How is the video quality? Do I need to swap to something else right now, or is this visible enough?
It is serviceable.
Okay.
Very okay.
It's very okay. All right. You can
One
follow
question
along with
about
what
the
I've linked as well.
dispels. Is there? I guess is it doing like a raid nuke when we dispel? Do we need to stagger those or anything?
No, those can, as soon as you are on the edge, you can dispel immediately. From what I've seen, they go clockwise around the room. I'm not entirely certain on the reasoning there. There was some indication that that might be part of the circle spawning, but yeah, more to follow on that. I will also say, guys, this is not my favorite season to be taking over for Cinder, because my God, has there been such a lack of resources for me to find up until now. I literally stumbled upon this today, and I've been scrounging and reading the journal and trying to come up with everything that I can, and then I come across this, and I'm like, oh well, this just says it what I was saying, but better. Oh,
Yeah, I feel
I
like there
hope you
isn't
guys.
a lot of information coming out.
There was not. No, this season had very, very sparse information, and a lot of the PTR kills have been changed, and a lot of the newer PTR stuff are not kills, so we don't get to see full bosses on a lot of the PTR stuff. It's been interesting. All right, moving on. Next, we've got the Entombed Sentinels. Um, I'll scroll up here and I'll let you guys read as I go through kind of my notes for what I had here. One phase, mostly with like an intermission, mostly single target, probably Bloodlust on pole. We're going to be splitting up two sides and keeping the bosses 40 yards apart. There's a green and a red boss, and like I said, an intermission. The green boss and the red boss have their own abilities. However, they do kind of interact with each other, so keeping your head on a swivel in this fight is definitely going to be the name of the game. When in doubt, maybe not standing directly between the two bosses is going to be ideal. Like off to the side is going to be good. There is a bunch of different things going on. So let's see what they have to say here. Spell nicknames here.
This reminds
so
me
you've
of
got-
the King Kong dinosaur fight from Undermine.
Yeah, very similar.
Kind of, yeah. It took me a second to remember. Yeah, yeah,
Is this
no, it is
concept
very similar.
amalgamation?
Also similar.
Yeah. One thing to note here is they do join back together in the middle, so kind of like the King Kong fight, like you were saying, they join back in the middle. When they do that, the lower health one gets healed up to the health percent of the other one. So split damage is definitely far more efficient than trying to burn one or the other. So make sure that if you aren't seeing them properly stacked, we might have like some floater people to rotate between the two to try to keep the health bars as even as possible so that we're doing effective, efficient damage. the green side, you have a bunch of small blobs that pull up, and we can pull into presentation mode. So you've got a bunch of small blobs. One of the comms that I heard a lot in my review on the blobs was check underneath the boss and behind the boss. I really liked that call. It can definitely get lost. I think there's one right in the middle there that you can see just underneath the boss. So making sure that you are looking around the entire area of the boss. It
Sorry,
will,
what are
I
they looking
believe,
for?
they're looking for these stomp orbs. There's green orbs that spawn. So you can see these
Little
green
oozes?
circles.
Oh, the little Uzis.
Yep.
Okay.
Little
And they've got
oozes.
this
There's one
soak
underneath.
indicator on them.
Yep. And everyone just walks over them. And then once you walk over them, you'll notice they turn into lines. They become kind of daggers, heat-seeking daggers. When that happens, you'll want to make sure that sorry, why is this different? There we go. When that happens, you'll want to make sure that you're not getting hit by the line, and it will be going back at to the other one. So we'll be tanking them on either side, and just making sure that as it crosses to the other boss, that there's no one in between that's going to be getting hit. So again, that's why I say heads on swivel. Dodging, like I said, dodging any poison that is being shot back at boss. There's also going to be some blighted blood. That blighted blood will drop a puddle, so you want to make sure that you are dropping those together. Let's see. When that comes up, everyone is stacking. I like this little corner stack to try to keep it as tight as possible. And then AMZ comes down, you dispel, the blood will drop out, and then everyone moves. In this case, they gated to just avoid any ticks of damage, but we'll see if that's entirely necessary or if we can do a little bit more of a loose stack. I think it might be the strategy we go with, but wanted you to see that. Questions so far? Okay. Go. Here we go. It's a quick overview versus P1 encounter. That's my mistake. Right. The blood, there's also some more small blobs to stomp on the other side, so that's why we're seeing there's blobs on either side. The soak, the blood soak, you need to make sure that you are, if you're getting marked with that you're taking a soak and dropping your soak debuffs in the corner, and then the dispel, again, we saw that as well. So that is pretty much the P1, rather straightforward. There is something to note on the other side, which I don't think we have a VOD of. On the green side, you will be getting actually, we will have a VOD of it halfway through because they swap. No? Crazy? Okay, I'm crazy. The green side gets a big ad. You need to stomp or kill that big ad ASAP. It's a cleave, but definitely focus on the big ad. There is kind of this rotation that goes on between tank busters, group soak and big ad, stomps and puddle drops, and then more tank busters. So it's pretty scripted. We'll probably be a-okay as long as we are killing that big ad, dealing with the soaks and stomping, and then dodging the lines. After that, we get to intermission. And intermission, that is an interesting one. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just learning this tool. I was trying to get it going before. All right, intermission. When intermission pops up, everyone gets a circle on them. It's going to be very reminiscent of Lura in that circle with a icon above your head. Everyone's icon is going to be different, and based off of what you see, you need to find the correct correlating player and touch with them. So everyone gets it all at the same time. Twos touch with twos, and 1-3s touch with 1-3s. So in this, you'll see that if you've got a green line and two red dots, you touch together. If you've got a green triangle and one dot, you touch with 3 red dots and 1 green dot. So this guy has the triangle, so what he's looking for is someone with 3 red dots. So he's going to wait, and he sees his friend right here moving towards him, and they touch, and it clears. So the entire raid has to do that in pretty quick succession.
Or spread across the entire platform at the time?
Yeah, because you are split 50-50. For the most part, what you want to do is clear with your half first, and then any remaining can clear with the other side, and it should be pretty straightforward on who needs to clear with who. If you fail this, you are almost guaranteed dead. Some true immunes and or extremely hard DRs can save you, but if you don't have those, or they're on cooldown or whatever else, and you are going to die, when you die, you drop a puddle. So everyone who fails will be running out to the side, probably either middle left or middle right, because we'll be dropping in all of the corners, and you will just be dying in the stack group of shame. So we'll have a designated area for any fails to run out and drop the corpses in their puddles. But just like with Lura, make sure that when you are doing that, you are taking your time and not running into the incorrect person to clear with. Any questions on how that works? Really, it looks more complex the first time you see it, until you realize that, hey, if I have a straight line, I find someone else who has a straight line. If I have anything else, I find the opposite version of that, which is, again, with the line versus the dots, makes it really simple. If you have the triangle, you're finding 3 dots. If you have 3 dots, you're finding the triangle. It's pretty dang simple. You will get a big, I don't know if you guys can see that. Let's see. A big icon that looks like this if you fail. And if you get that, you need to run away from where the group soaks are going to be and just die as far out and away from any other mechanics that you possibly can. Then it kind of just repeats after that point. We will be having the collision that happens in the center that I discussed. When that collision happens, while all of this is going on, they are soaking up to the same health bar. So you'll see one health bar raising up to the 254, roughly. Didn't look like it did there, but it should be healing to the same amount. And then once that's done, you take that add and you bring it into the corner and you repeat. Questions? Very, very similar mechanics to a lot of what we've already dealt with, just slightly recolored. These lines, I'm imagining, will probably be snipers for the first little while we get used to it.
With the boss tanked in that corner, is there a limit to the range that those little slimes can spawn?
Yeah, they spawn off of the boss. So It is definitely after you drop pools, drag boss out, and I think it's 10 yards, but I could be wrong. Other questions?
Just a note that during that intermission, because the bosses are in melee of each other, they both have a 99% DR.
Yes.
So you don't really have to do anything except solve the mechanic.
Yep. Completely useless damage phase. So you are just doing the mechanic, maybe sending some builders, but not sending any spenders.
When you're talking about the like where you want people to go if they're not going to match with the right people, is that implying that there are going to be people that are going to be dying? Or is it
Ideally, no one dies.
it
I am
almost seems like
anticipating.
if there's an area we're designating for them to die, it should be just the area that they meet to fix whoever's not matched up.
The reason there's an area for you to die is because if you don't match, you have a couple seconds with a angry marker above your head to go place a puddle.
Oh, so
Yeah.
you're essentially
Yeah.
like you're gonna die now. So.
Yeah, you've already
If you
failed.
run into the wrong
Yes.
person, you are going to die.
Yep. You'll
Gotcha.
get an angry icon over your head that says you messed it up. If you go from your icon that you have at the start of intermission to another icon instead of it just clearing, you're dead. So go die somewhere peacefully.
Okay, I understand.
Yeah. Yeah, honestly, probably a step down in complexity overall from the first boss. I think first boss dealing with all of the ads that are not tauntable and finding ways to deal with us with CCing and moving and getting them to where we want them to go. While there's a big well in the center that if they touch that well, they die. Like even if we break the shield, if we don't get them around the well, they could still just run into it and die, even if they have aggro. So that one is a lot of ad slop and kind of chaos. This one is a lot more scripted. As long as you don't get hit by the laser beams that are coming out after the little orbs get soaked, and you do the mechanic right during intermission, it's pretty dress right dress. All right. Vashnik, I think I'm saying that right. This one, kind of one phase, but not. There's going to be some ads that spawn, and we'll probably bloodlust on pull. This is, I don't know, for whatever reason, my brain wants to say it's Simon Says. It's really not. But it is pick two poisons, basically. You have a blood fountain, a shadow fountain, and a fire fountain. And each one gives you different mechanics that you're going to be dealing with. You're going to position the boss between two fountains, and he will pick the two closest ones. On, I believe, heroic and up, he gets more powerful on each version of that one that is consecutive. So if he stays on the blood one and you move him between the blood and the shadow, but then you move him between the blood and the fire, it gets stronger each time. And so you want to make sure that you are kind of rotating in either clockwise or counterclockwise around the room. You don't want to be going back and forth. There's also going to be some unique debuffs that are going to go out, and when the ads die, you move to the next pair of fountains and then repeat the whole process. I think from what I've seen, the ads dying kind of tends to mark the move to the next one and get ready for the next mechanics. So that'll be your kind of go button. Tanks, you're going to be swapping after each dripping fangs, and then the malignant catalyst gets, I think, a little bit larger on the raid wide damage as well. So there's this catalytic bile that spawns from this, and that'll do a big raid-wide damage that I think on heroic is significantly more. So, looking at the mechanics here, priority for what they're recommending right now is Fire, Blood, Shadow. I don't know, Cinder, if you've heard anything else, but pretty straightforward in how we'll do things. We'll just hit play and we'll show you what it looks like here. There are going to be these void circles for the void side that'll drop. You want to make sure that you are dodging those. And then there are, on the green side, there's going to be the pools. Actually, that are not pools, excuse me, the lines that will have these poison waves that come out that you need to dodge. So then we have ads that spawn, ads get dealt with, a lot of more circle slop to dodge, and then after these ads die, we're going to see again more of the lines with waves coming out to dodge, and there is the let that go. There is the big soak that you'll see the tank running off with, or the big tank buster rather, not soak.
When you say that the debuffs get stronger the longer we're there,
Mhm.
So like the green waves, do they like move faster, or they get bigger, or they hit harder if they touch you?
They just do more damage. It's the same mechanic, but they just become, I think, 15% stronger.
Okay.
So I don't know why this happens. On this first move, there's that big blood ad that you see there, and it just falls over instantly and dies. That is the fire ad, and for whatever reason, I don't know if that was bugged or whatever else, that just didn't happen. On the blood fountain, so the red fountain, you're going to have the single ad. It can't be CC'd, and it splits into smaller ads when it dies, and then you just need to make sure that that gets killed off. And then if you have a leech circle that can't be that you get on you, it can't be healed until several other players stand inside your circle. So you'll see a circle that goes around each player, and you just have to have everyone stand inside of it to make sure that you can get that off of you, and then you can be healed. Don't know if that shows on this VOD.
I can clarify what happened with the fire ad.
Okay, please.
So the ad groups each spawn from each fountain. The fire ads got gripped in from the side, and when the fire ads die, they cast a raid-wide nuke. So that's what we saw there, was basically the corpses.
Okay, thank you. On the shadow side, what we saw at the beginning was the little ads that spawn, and you dodge the swirlies that all come out. And then there's also targeted players that get healing absorbs. So making sure that those get cleared, and then just don't get hit by the swirlies, because that will be something that if you are on the, I believe it's targeted at the players with the healing absorb. People who get the healing absorb get the additional swirlies. So we may have the ability to move out of the main group before then. We'll see how that plays out. They definitely didn't in this VOD, but anticipating the ability to kind of have a little bit more more controlled chaos with those large, bright swirlies that come out. On the fire fountain, I think I talked about the blood fountain. There's 2 ads. So we started on the fire. Excuse me. That pulse rate wide damage, yeah, and they explode when they die. So that is what we're seeing there. Also, you'll notice there's this soak that comes out when you're on the fire side, or not soak, sorry, splash that comes out, and you just have to spread away from the group. It is fall off damage, making sure that you are not stacked up with people. There are the 2 big ones that come out, and they're getting gripped. Again, the whole time dealing with the waves. And then the add damage, or the boss, or add damage onto the raid as well. So just rotating around the room, dealing with adds and unique debuffs as you go.
Doesn't really seem like it's got much going on.
Yeah, it's kind of just you cycle between two mechanics essentially from each pool. So you're dealing with 4 mechanics at a time, but those mechanics are adds and debuffs. So you've got 2 debuffs and two versions of adds, and you just rotate around the room.
Does the boss deal like increasing tank damage if it's near one of the totems or whatever too long?
I don't know. I think it's just everything hits harder, or the mechanics on that specific totem hit harder. But Dripping Fangs is the main tank mechanic swap, and that
I'm wondering
I
why
don't
we
think is
wouldn't
color specific.
like just plant between green and purple.
So the reason is that the more times the boss triggers a specific fountain, the more difficult all of those mechanics become, including add health, the damage done, etc. So rotating around will keep it to manageable levels. There's a soften rage if you go around too many times.
Yeah, I didn't know the add health. That I didn't see anywhere, but that is good to know. All right. Apologies for stuttering. Nerves are getting to me a little bit, guys. I don't do the presentations very often, and again, living up to Cinder is a tall order. But moving on. Lost Explorers. Sorry, what?
No, I said he sucks. Don't worry about it.
The turtles. I like turtles boss. Pretty awesome boss overall. Very excited to be playing with some turtles. Whole fight is basically just one phase, 2 target cleave, lust on pole. You cannot keep all 3 together. They have a 99% damage reduction when they are together, so you will basically just be dragging the lowest health one away and killing the other 2. You do that by opening Gebo's, I think I'm saying that right, Gebo's box until you find the fish, and you use it before they reach full energy, and then you can taunt and move them around. We'll play here and we'll show you the basics. It's pretty straightforward. Each one has their own mechanics that you have to deal with. There's an interrupt that has to be done, and then let's see. So don't think we can show you the actual. No. All right. So Nama, one of the 3. Basically, for them, you are doing a melee bait and dodge on a shell spin, and then you are also splitting into 3 groups and doing soaks, and then you move out of the patches afterwards. For Iku, you are doing an interrupt, and you are dealing with the Blink Nova, where targets run away and they need to get as far away from the raid as possible to have fall off raid wide damage. They also have a frost volley that pairs with fire and frost circles, where you drop it beside each other and then run into the opposite patch. And then you have Gebo, where they throw junk and you have to dodge boxes spread out to open them, and then you drop the bomb near the edge and it bounces over the blast wave with a mushroom. So let me show you all of that. Each one has basically two mechanics, and we rotate through them. So Blink Nova, you'll notice on the Blink Nova that when you get targeted, you just run out of the raid as far as you can. They're off on the left-hand side here. Boom, pretty straightforward. Raid-wide damage still goes out, but it's not that bad. There's also a shell spin going off at the same time. So right now you can tell that they've got the Iku and the Nama tanked first, because we have the shell spin and the Blink Nova going out at the same time. So there's that shell spin. You'll notice that once those shells go out, they hit everyone they pass through and stun them, so you do not want to get hit by those. Also have the standard swirly dodge as you go through. More interrupts on that Icebound Flame, and then the Blink Nova running away from the group while dealing again with more of the shells. And then more swirlies to dodge. So now they're changing which one is disoriented with the fish, and they are dragging the other one out. From here, you'll see the last one, which we didn't cover, which is Gebo. There's going to be some junk that gets thrown around, as well as these mushrooms. You dodge boxes, and then you also drop the bomb near the edge and bounce it over the blast wave with the mushrooms. So if you don't bounce it over, then once that blast wave hits it, it will do a raid wipe.
Sorry, how do you bounce it?
I'll show you here.
Oh, gotcha.
You bounce with it.
Yeah, or once you bounce over it. Sorry, not bounce it over. Sorry, I misspoke. Yep. So standard mushroom bounce that you would normally see. Then you do have a little bit of the entire arena that is not cleared that you'll have to deal with, but really you're just dealing with the junk boxes and the blast wave that you have to get knocked up on each time, and then going back through making sure that the Blink Nova is far away from the group, that you're doing interrupts, and that you are dodging shells and swirlies. Tanks, one thing to note, when you taunt, cross taunt the Nama and Iku around 7 shredding shard stacks, and then keeping Nama beside whatever turtle has more health, and pull the other low health one away. Pretty much how the whole thing goes. Here are the soaks as well. We didn't get to see these before. So when it comes to the 3 group soaks, you just move in and then make sure that there's enough people in them, and then you're moving out of the other junk as it's spawning in and then running through. through it after to clear. Questions on this?
I'll be honest, I'm only gonna remember some of this before I start seeing
Yep.
it again.
That's fine. A lot of mechanic slop, but pretty straightforward overall on what we're dealing with here for this one. For the snake, this is a pretty cool boss. One phase, single target, bloodlust during pull, I would assume, unless Cindy, you think otherwise. I've heard during digging, but that didn't really make sense to me.
It's probably a pull lust. There is an amp, but it's too risky and too much mechanics.
Yeah. So, this one is an interesting one. Predominantly based around dealing with some drops and with this dig-in mechanic. The drops will save us from dig-in. When we are going through the dig-in, we will get blown by a very strong wind that will knock you off of the boss arena. I don't think you can live it any other way. You may be able to as like a demon hunter with triple dash, but much better to just do the mechanic, play it safe. There are some drops that we'll be putting down that once you hit them, they will bounce you back onto the platform. So, beyond that, let's see. So we'll have 3 world markers down. There's 3 tornado directions, more or less. 2 players take the green arrows to the markers and drop them. Drop those green blobs that I'm talking about that will save us later during the dig-in phase. Players targeted with white circles should pair up and move your line towards a player that is moving in the opposite direction of you. I'll show you that here in a second. And then also, the boss takes 30% increased damage while we're in dig in, which is why the lust during dig in is a thing. But with everything going on, probably not worth it. We'll see. We might play around with it if we can do it cleanly enough during dig in. There's a tank frontal combo as well. So there's a white soak that is the tank only, and there's a green soak that is the group soak. Tanks basically just can't swap during corroded venom if stacks get too high. I'm not sure the specifics on that, but
from the tactics video, it sounds like it's a 5-part hit where it's
okay.
two tank hits, 2 raid soaks, and then 1 hit that's just a bunch of tornadoes.
And those are dodge.
Yeah, everybody dodge.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So getting into what that looks like. Let's see. There's some tornadoes to dodge and some pools to drop. So we're going to see boss get brought over. Now, these right here are the venomous surges. Or wait, am I getting my mechanics mixed up? No.
The white lines
raging
are the gusts, the crosswinds.
Crosswinds? Excuse me. Thank you. Crosswinds. All right. So for the crosswinds, you'll see this here. Everyone gets a line. And now this might be a little low quality image here, but what we have is a line shooting out from one player moving in one direction and a line from another player moving in the opposite direction. You want to make sure that you are pairing up with someone going the opposite direction. So that way you cancel each other out and you basically just get knocked up into the air a little bit and canceled out and land back safely. If you don't do that, you will send each other off into Narnia. So that's pretty straightforward. You'll also notice that the green globules are being dropped as well on the raid markers. Trying to see if I can find a quick showing of those being dropped. So dodging the tornadoes the entire time, dodging puddles, and then there's the person with the arrow going out and dropping on the marker while then dealing with the knockbacks.
On that set of crosswinds, it looked like there were 3 people in a line. How did that work?
They moved.
Yeah, they just needed to adjust. And if you're directly against someone who is going, like, if I'm facing back to back with someone, that's not a problem. I just need to make sure that I find the person whose line I am facing and that we are colliding with each other. So I could have a chain of people like this with 4 in a row. But if this person in the center is getting knocked with this person, that's fine. They cancel. Same thing with those two. But then this person on this 5th would need to find who they're getting knocked with.
A question.
Mm-hmm.
Say if we have an odd number of players, somebody's dead. Does that mean somebody's just kind of dead because they don't have somebody to hit, and they have to use some sort of ability to cancel it out?
To be determined, I believe so. Yeah, if we have an odd number of players, I think you may just be dead.
Yeah, imagine we can see that scenario where someone dies of rot and then the other person just flies off.
Or in heroic, where we have an uneven number.
Well, it won't target the whole raid at once.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
All right. So then here they rotated over for the soak.
Yeah, so the green is the group soak. I think
Yep.
showed a video where they cheesed it, but you're not allowed to anymore.
And then here's a good example of showing what the drops look like if you have a green arrow over your head. Don't know if that was the perfect place to drop it or not, but that's what the drop looks like when you do it. And then here is the dig in mechanic. So he will cast dig in, and everyone starts getting knocked in one direction immediately, and you will see this blob will knock everyone back and save you. It'll slow you after you land, and you'll just stand there and be fine. Then you have to be center again for the next knock. So moving back to center every time, because here's the next dig in, and it goes in a different direction. Boom, you get knocked, you get back to center, and you're good to go. Final knock, not really much to concern yourself with. Just don't be near the ledge when that happens. Questions so far?
No, looks fun.
Yeah. So main thing is making sure that we're doing soaks right, doing dodges on tornadoes, and then dropping the blobules correctly so that when it comes time to do the dig-in mechanic that we are getting knocked directly in a way that will make us safe. If they're not perfectly placed, just making sure that you're close enough. But I like this guy's ability to move far, but definitely making sure that there's always someone on the other side of you. It does look like, from what I've seen, that if you are getting knocked, it's not like a guaranteed wipe or guaranteed kill. You could potentially just be as far back as possible on that outer edge, and you might not end up off of the platform, but you will also likely take some fall damage if you do that.
Can like demon hunters just double jump like good or?
Not sure. I thought about doing some PTR testing, but I ended up not. So here, oh, they actually just
These bombs are a bit like Ansurek, where just one person touches them and it knocks the whole raid. So demon hunters don't really need to worry about it. Mages don't need to worry about it unless everyone except for them is dead anyway. You can maybe save yourself, but other 19 people are dead.
The knock does seem to be a little bit directional to where you are specific, so everyone grouping up is important for that, to make sure that you don't get knocked off in a really weird angle. Otherwise, the next knock will probably kill you. But yeah, pretty stock standard otherwise. Just a lot of dodging and soaking, and then getting these lines down, followed by the dig in. All right, moving on to Twin Fangs. Twin Fangs is going to be a pretty interesting mechanic boss. Says 2 target, but really, I don't know. It's a potential to be 2, maybe 3, depending on what you're hitting with the ad. But there's also a potential for it to just be single target for a decent chunk of it. I believe it's predominantly single target for the first bit, and then it moves into 2 or 3 target thereafter. Going through, basically, there is soak orbs that spawn. There's the casters that spawn, or not casters, sorry, excuse me. The envious emergents that spawn, and then the, oh god, let me see. I had my notes here for this one and I lost it.
This makes me think of Magmarex.
Very similar to Magmarex.
So, sorry, I am back with my notes. All right. So, basically, there is a tank buster that you need to not stand in. There's some sanguine storms as well that will be dropping, and then there are some corrosive spits as well, cleaving multiple players. And then you also see that there is a vile flood that will be coming out. So there's some waves to dodge as well. Where are my notes again? I swear I was prepared, guys. Yeah, phase 1, like I said, you see here, it's 2 target, but if you're not able to cleave them, they do have a pretty large hitbox. There are some classes that will be able to make this cleave, but some will probably just view this as a single target, depending. Probably Lust on cooldown, or Lust on pull, rather. Phase 1 is predominantly picking up and stacking the venom ads around the room, and then destroy them with the Sever, and then group soaking the guillotine, dodging the axe grinder, and dispelling Venom Fang. see some dodges come out. You see after these pools, you have to soak all of these orbs. Once those are soaked, then you'll also see these come up as well. You want to make sure that the tanks stand in those. Anyone else would definitely die. And then you'll see these spawns come out of the center. We need to swap over, get those killed. They do target random players, and again, kind of similar to the Soul Hunters line cleave, where you just need to make sure that you are being very predictable in your left-right movements and having people move out. There's also some circles that need to get dropped to avoid too much chaos in the room. And then
Everybody
there's
with wings
waves.
saw that Demon Hunter gaming.
Where was it?
He drops the blood pool in the green shit, the middle guy, right?
Oh, that's what that was. Okay. Yeah, and then Vengeful retreats back. That's pretty cool. There's a big soak that goes off as well. So everyone moving in to do the soak. It is a multiple prong soak, and then there's the big pool that is spawning all of the waves to dodge.
Yeah,
Sorry, what was that?
I believe on Heroic, that big red soak will knock anybody who's in it out each time it goes off, so you have to separate into different groups.
That red.
I see.
Spear?
Okay, yeah. Sorry, the red soak. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have that on my notes, but if that's the case, that's good. Good info.
Yeah, because that's the only way to get rid of that stacking debuff throughout the entire fight. You get hit with those little green slimes going across, so you get more of the debuff. I forget how much. If you get a certain amount, you just die. But the only way to clear them off is by getting in that soak.
Okay. 10 stacks on heroic, yes. But it's one
Each
of each hit, and then
each
it
hit
knocks
clears
you
exactly
out.
one. Yeah.
Okay, and so there's that's right. Yeah, sorry. Yeah, so there is we'll split it up into 3 groups for the raid soak. That is correct. I remember that in my notes now. Sorry. Thank you. Yep. It's weird because they don't get knocked there.
It might be on normal.
This might be normal. This might be PTR as well.
That's true.
The heroic and higher mechanic is it debuffs you to be killed if you soak 2 in a row.
Okay. I wonder if this group just didn't do that mechanic right. So you'll also see this fun little intermission P2 thing that goes on there, where one of the 2 serpents will drop and go back into the center, and then does the lovely little circular thing. You want to make sure that you are on the right side of it because it moves clockwise. Then you'll be able to move to the next one afterwards, where they will both be grouped back up. And we'll be into phase 2. In phase 2, you're breaking the absorb shield on players afflicted with Dread March. You're kiting the fixations into the Soul Sever, and then you are spreading out for the Gloom Bomb and picking up Gravebound, and then you are also interrupting the ad. I think it's a Spirit Cackle ad, and then killing that as well. So we'll see that here. So there are a lot of mechanics to this boss. This is definitely a step up from the previous ones. There's a lot to do here, and multiple phases. You'll see there the fangs as well, where the tanks need to go to soak. this tool wasn't all it's cracked up to be. I can go back
What's
to my.
ad that you have to interrupt?
It is the Spirit Cackle ad. Trying to see if I can find it here.
That's not the guy in the blood shield. There's a different guy somewhere.
No, that's the. There's a different guy. So then after this, it goes to the other side. I'm trying to find where the hell this is. Bear with me, guys. Maybe it's
He
not.
just like disappear when he immediately when he's kicked or something.
Yes.
Did I have this wrong? Oh, fuck me. You know what? I'm giving you bad information. We're here. I am telling you that there's a kick thing, and it is not. Sorry. God damn it. All right. If I didn't have nerves before, I do now. I was on the wrong version of what I was looking at. So it's the one phase, and it's in an intermission, and it just goes and it repeats. So for the 10 stacks as an instant kill, yes, I have my notes again now here. On the right boss this time. Fuck me. Players with red circles move to the edge of the room, wait for it to expire. On heroic, the red circle leaves behind poison pools when they expire. And then the Ravenous Feast is a 3-group hit. Yep, like we said, 3 group soaks with 1 group soak each, and then the tanks do all 3 soak on the Stonebreaker hits, and then taunt swap after each set of the Stonebreakers. Anyone standing in the Stonebreakers dies. The intermission is just the dodging of the breath, the poison beam. Watch your feet, and then when the beam ends, the bosses regroup. So I am overcomplicating it and getting confused with the coil altar. Apologies. There's a million fucking snakes in this goddamn dungeon, and they all look roughly the same. And I'm getting spun around. So yeah, this is honestly a bit step up on the tuning, but for the mechanics itself, I have no question that we can deal with the slight mechanic slop that is the dropping of pools and the dodging of waves, dodging of beams, and killing of ads in the center, and then not standing in the tank. That's it. Moving on. All right. What I was trying to get to was the coiled altar, which is where I had misclicked into my notes on. Coiled altar has some crazy stuff. This is a 3-phase fight with a 1-phase single target kind of patchwork. Phase 2 is more single target with 1 ad, and then phase 3 is 2 target kind of stacked cleave. Phase 1, we are going to be stacking up, and the way that this goes is phase 1 is 1 boss, phase 2 is another boss, phase 3 is both bosses. This is definitely the slop fight when it comes to mechanics, if ever there were one, out of the entire thing. You'll notice that there are some ads to pick up around the room. When you pick up those ads, you want to drop them so that they can get destroyed. So this is P1. You start off, there's some puddles that'll form. You want to get away from those 2 soak spots. It tightens the whole room a bit, but there's also going to be these orbs. And you'll see they have assigned people that are running to the orbs, picking them up, dropping them off. I believe that is a dispel. And then once those are dropped off, there is a frontal that you'll see. You can't quite see it on this one. There it is. So there's a frontal that gets aimed so that it clears those orbs. So this whole entire time, this hunter is just running back and forth, picking them up and dropping them off, and getting them so that they can be cleaved down within those two. So there's definitely mechanics to be desired of some people. You will be losing out on a little bit of damage doing that.
Okay, Pika.
Yeah.
No way. Look, Banchers is still number
Checking
4 in
in.
DPS. This is a BM fight.
Well, I can make a swap.
Can't be a mechanics bitch on survival.
There's also a group soak that you see coming out here, and then there is a bunch more of the dodging of axe grinders and dispelling of that venom fang that I had mentioned. So if you thought you'd gotten away from glaives, bad news. There's more glaives. So if you see them here, they're just different colors, but they're still glaives.
I can see these ones.
After the group soak, when you get in that group soak, everyone has to move out. So dropping that to an edge and then moving in the same direction is a necessity. This repeats until the boss is dead. So you will be going out, grabbing orbs, dropping them, killing them with the frontal, dodging glaives, and then doing a group soak. So, and then also dealing with the puddles that are dropping as well, and on either side as those happen. There can be, like you said, or like you see some orbs that will be spawning in the danger. So making sure that the people that are grabbing them have decent either immunes or DRs to go out and grab them and or self healing. Man, 3%. What a way to live. And then dropping them and being ready to get them knocked.
And there's not. Go ahead.
So I don't believe there's any manual drop. It's just a timeout.
Oh, it's a timeout? I thought it was
it was a debuff timer when he picks it up.
Thank you.
Yep. There's not. I guess, is there a reason they're not moving the boss to like the edge of one of the puddles to shoot the orbs for the ones that are deep in there?
I think the main reason there is you only have a limited number of knockback or of frontals rather, and you want to try to get as many as you possibly can. So what you're looking to do is have people drop them in relatively safe place for the droppers. Because otherwise, if you're trying to hit it with something in the goop, then the rest of the people dropping would have to drop it in the goop. It's like you don't want to move the boss to the goop because you want somewhere for everyone who's grabbing orbs to drop it safely. They shouldn't be standing out in the goop to drop. Does that make sense or answer your question?
Yes.
Yep. Okay. All right. So, like I said, that boss, once he dies, you get another boss. And so phase 2 consists of basically breaking absorb shields on players, kiting an unnerving fixation. This is where I was completely turned around on the last boss. Sorry to throw you guys for a loop there. And then spreading out for the gloom bomb and picking up Eerie Gravebound. I'll show you that, and then there's the interrupt on the spell Spirit Cackle. All right, back on track. So we have some ads coming out. Spirit coming out, and then the Wall of Terror. You'll see those, and this is very reminiscent of the salad bar fight, where once you get one kicked, another one will pop up, and you just want to make sure that you are getting those kicks before the wall of terror goes out. So there's another one, and it just keeps going through. So let me go back and see if we can see the other mechanics here. Yep. So you'll see the circles spread out so that they're not hitting the rest of the raid. So that's the gloom bomb. And then there are absorb shields going out onto specific players. You can see those with, I believe, the purple here that are getting healed. And then fixation on soul. And you can see where that's going for the kick on that. Here we are. That's what I was looking for. So those are the soaks that you need to do for the grave bounds. If they reach, I believe that's a wipe. So just getting people to run out and soak these guys. I believe that's individual per person. If you go out and soak on your grave bounds, you have individual soaks to see.
It should also happen for the tank frontal.
What should happen for the tank frontal?
The ghosts that you got to collect.
Oh, okay. Is that? I don't know if I saw tank frontal there, but here's the Dread March. You'll see those come out.
Frontal should be after the march, so you can clear the ghosts.
Okay. I don't have that. I don't. Cinder, do you know anything on the frontal there?
Yeah, so the tank frontal for P2 is what's used to kill the other ghosts, not the ones you run over, but the ones that are
The purple
Mario
ghost.
Boos, and the frontal also will debuff the tank to recover their soul.
These little
Okay.
purple ghosts need to be frontaled.
Yeah. So this mechanic is when these purple ghosts spawn, they are fixated on a player and they will chase that player down unless the player is looking at them, and then they turn white. They are literally
Oh,
Mario
right.
Boos.
Nice.
So you fixate, the fixated players all need to kite their ghost into one area and then stare at the ghost so that they stop moving and the tank can frontal them.
Yeah.
So it looks like they're kiting them into that X world marker.
That's right. Okay.
And if you get
Thank
hit by your ghost, you get mind controlled as well.
Yep.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Heroic,
Thank you.
I believe, on that mechanic.
Okay.
You can see it a couple times in this video. If you go back 10 seconds or so.
Yeah, I saw that now. I just
Yeah, that DK just got hit by their ghost and ran off.
Yep. Yeah, you'll see them coming in from different directions. Now that I can see it, got it. That makes sense. And then there's a frontal that'll happen, but I think they phase it.
Is it your ghost is going to be colored differently, type of thing, probably?
Yeah, you'll see it here. The one that the hunter has is glowing.
Yeah, like on fire almost.
Yeah, so it's that bright purple.
Gotcha.
And
you got
then
the eye
after,
over your head.
so what was that?
And you've got the eyes over your head to tell you to look around for it.
Yeah. After that, you'll phase and you'll have both alive. For whatever reason, on this fight, elected to lust and just burn one of them is not what you need to do. You need to make sure that they're dying at the same time. So you'll see like large raid wide pulsing going out. Believe on this, they're screaming the whole time, like, stop hitting this guy. So now you have to deal with both of them. And now, welcome to real mechanic slop. So you'll see the ghost that is being dealt with. At the same time, the orbs are being soaked and then dropped off in the center so that they can be cleared with the frontal. You also have the puddles on the edge that you have to deal with, and you have the group soak that you have to soak and then get out of. So it's going to be a one side to the other while grabbing soaks and moving them into the center, getting out of the center so that the frontal can then clear, and then also dragging your ghost to the tank frontal on the other side so that that can then be cleared by that slam. So plenty going on here. But if you always face your ghost like this hunter is, you never really have to deal with it. You can do all of the rest of the mechanics. BM has it a little easier than the rest, but so while this is going on, like I said, just kind of covering everything else again. You're picking up the puddles. You are getting them destroyed by the sever. You are soaking the guillotine as a group and then moving out. You are spreading out for the gloom bombs, which are the purple circles as well when you get those so that you're not killing the raid with them. You are then also interrupting the Eternal Nightfall on the what is that? The veil of twilight on the Eternal Nightfall. So there's an interrupt that is still going out, and then you're continuing to kite the fixations to get them cleared with the other sever as well. Lots going on, but honestly, for the mechanic slop that it is, fairly reasonable.
Yeah, seems fun.
Yep. And then the last one, we'll try to make this quick because we don't really have any VODs or anything to go over. I don't have a raid plan fully drawn up yet, but I was going to pull up, DOS myself here a little bit. I think should be fine. Ulatech. So no videos yet, just journal to go off of. There's 3 phases with 1 intermission. For P1, it is a lot of wave dodging, a lot of picking up eggs, and range killing tentacles, and then tanks swapping on the tank buster.
If I may, and I don't want to
Sure.
take the show.
No, please.
I've been doing some studying on this one, just like last season, to figure out.
I tried to, but yeah, I figured you'd have some stuff if you were going to do it.
Yeah. I find a lot of fun in trying to predict exactly what the boss will be from the journal. So I think I have a pretty good idea at this point.
Okay.
So phase 1, okay. The entire core mechanic of Ulatech is going to be that it's dropping these eggs onto the arena. And these eggs are going to be things that we need to choose when they hatch. And if you're getting broodmother PTSD, that's reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot less terrible than that, though. From the journal, what it seems like is that the eggs, if they get hit by one of the venom waves that's going to get spammed across the arena, they will hatch into a dangerous ad. But we can pick up the eggs and move them around. So the idea is probably going to be moving the eggs around, and I suspect they're also going to need to be DPS'd down to break them, because there's a shitty broken ad in the journal as well that has weaker mechanics. So we'll be dealing with that throughout the entire fight. For phase 1, the tail is a separate targetable unit that shares health with the boss, and both the tail and the boss need to have somebody in melee or else they enrage. And they both have tank mechanics, so I suspect it's a tank thing. The tail also is going to create a bunch of group soaks, and these group soaks mean that we're going to probably want to have the raid split into a couple groups. I don't know if it's 50-50 or a kill group, but on heroic we need 2 soak groups specifically on the tail, so probably 50-50.
That's P2, I believe, right?
No, that's P1. The gore rattle is the tail.
Ah, okay. Oh, for the slam?
And
or
the coil happens near the tail as well, so I'm assuming
okay.
it'll be a thing.
Okay.
After a certain period of time, the boss will get Angie mode, start thrashing around, and it'll go into a 100% damage amp phase. That's probably the Lust. And then the boss will disappear, and it will go into a giant ad phase. There will be some wardens that spawn, and there are going to be some new eggs, and these eggs are going to be a problem. The Doomscale Wardens are going to protect any eggs that are near them, so we need to focus them down as fast as possible, and eventually they will trigger all the eggs near them to hatch. There will also be a new egg, a Doomscale egg, that spawns a ad that will wipe us if we don't deal with it. And dealing with it is going to involve picking up that egg and throwing it into some cauldron that shows up somewhere. When we pick up the egg, we'll be on a timer to get it dealt with before we wipe. And if we don't pick up the egg, we're on a different timer before we wipe. Lots of ads to blow up, lots of cleave, and it seems like the wardens are going to run around and teleport and trigger eggs to spawn and do all kinds of shenanigans. Once all the wardens are dead, there will be an intermission with an absolute metric fuckload of group soaks and dodging to do, just like every good end boss. And then we go into P3, where the arena is going to be broken into chunks. Probably a bit like Illyria, where we're going to have to move around them. Not sure.
It's there's 4 this time.
Yeah. I don't know where that image came from that some people have of the broken arena. I was trying to find a source on that, but anyway, that it becomes basically like a harder P1, but with a couple of new mechanics. The most important one being that there will be a debuff that goes out on a bunch of players, and those players are going to be taking some damage, and after a period of time, they'll just die. And to get rid of that debuff, we need to have several people soak the debuff off of those players. And once the debuff is soaked off, then the people who did the soaking are going to get their own new debuff that is basically a big bomb around them. So we'll have groups of people moving in to soak and then stepping and spreading out to drop bombs. And all the while, we're still moving ads around and picking up eggs and dodging waves. Fight probably ends when the whole arena gets destroyed.
Yep. Cool. Thanks, Cinder. Appreciate that. Yeah, here's the broken apart one, by the way.
I really like these breaking up arenas, huh?
Yeah. So season 2, end boss, instead of having 3, they added 4. So it's
That's one more.
yeah, classic Blizzard. That's basically a new mechanic right there.
So next season's gonna have like 5 for the end boss, right?
Whoa, let's not get carried away.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, Athena.
Wow. Yeah. Sweet. That's all I have. I know this has gone probably a little longer than I was anticipating. Apologies. I do have all of the raid plans that I can up at the time right now, so um, definitely check those out. Those are in the raid info. I will be updating those as we go and getting more into all of these and making mythic variants of them. And then also getting some more stuff for Ulatek. Ulatek doesn't have a whole ton, but I kind of had my notes, and I figured if Cinder was going to be Cinder, that he'd come with his own theory. And yes, thank you again for having just the depth of knowledge and predictive prowess that you do on these.
Yeah, thanks for going through all that. Aside from the hilarious weekly checklist, what all does the team need to do before Tuesday?
Really, it's just going to be the hilarious checklist, getting your one piece of heroic gear from doing a tier 8 delve, which I think again is in this checklist.
With the map.
Yeah.
You do that with the map, which you get from a quest, which you get from doing all of the campaign stuff. So come here and do the campaign and follow through this checklist. It's super goated to just. I would say if you can get everything knocked out, great. If nothing else, make sure that you have your M plus world tour done, as well as your delve all the way upgraded, if at all possible. I'm going to go through and get this, even though it's a champion, I'm going to get it to a champion 3, so I don't have to spend more champion shards. Get all of them champion 1 at least, ideally, because you can pull tier out of the delve. So looking for an M plus or M0 world tour and some delves being done. That will get you here ideally this week. Big thing to note again: follow the guides. You will probably only be taking tier this season or this week, and then for the rest of the season, unless there are some rare exceptions, you will be taking some bonus rolls for vault. It is just mathematically more correct most of the time. It is definitely boring, but that's kind of it is what it is. There are some exceptions to that, so if you get something really goaded in your vault and you're not sure what to do, you can always bring that to us, and we'll help you figure out what's best for you. You can also check your class Discord for things like that as well. You can get 2, I think some characters can get 3 shards for crafting, so you could go get those 2 knocked out. I would just say follow your Discord for what to craft. I know some classes love their weapons right away. Other classes, you want to be very careful and maybe hold off on what you're crafting. Beyond that, yeah, I don't think there's much else other than, like I said, please spend the time on this off season going through and figuring out your UI a little bit better, your keybinds a little bit better, and just coming in next season at the best version of both, so that you have
Can I chime in with something?
clean UI and clean keybinds. Yeah, please.
We are going to be planning on taking a lot of bonus rolls this season, so it'd be really beneficial if you hop in your class Discord and figure out what bosses you're trying to spend those on ahead of time. It'll also help out with just like general loot council stuff, if you know for sure, and if we know as well.
Yep.
There's also, I'm going to stream really quickly since we're talking about loot. If everyone could pop in to check what I'm looking at real quick. There are a couple different things. We have Ellie last season crafted me the Loot Master website, which is beautiful for helping me to check and look at priorities for like stats overall for your characters, what's in the S tier, A tier, and what shouldn't be going to you unless it's for transmog roll. We're applying this to a loot distribution spreadsheet. Essentially, what we plan on doing is yes, everyone needs good gear, and yes, I understand that it really feels like shit whenever sometimes you can't get anything. Taking that into consideration, I am obviously always paying attention as to who might be getting how much loot in a raid week. So please don't think I'm trying to like bypass other people just because you think that, you know, in your heads that you're not doing enough damage and so you need pieces to do better damage. I also think that, and I have to train myself out of it, but we're trying to do this to set us up for easy breezy beautiful CE cover girl. And in doing so, it would also help on our WoW audit under how they beautifully redid their UI system under the loot tabs. There is the wish list and like the team overview, and you can actually set up in your wish list. There's the bonus roll target section where you can go and select character, or where you can select what bosses you're going to like prioritizing your bonus rolls. Your trinket priority, which you can set here, it gives you all of the current content loot, so you don't have to go through the thousands of different things that you normally do whenever you're doing like your sims. You can also set like tier priority, and then we're not going to require any drop optimizers. The only time that I may ask for drop optimizers is like during current content when I need a little bit more information regarding picking like a tier piece, or not a tier piece, a trinket is what I meant to say, a trinket or jewelry or a weapon or something. But normally all of these will be pre-chosen by our distribution for like what order everything is going to look for trinkets, we're not really going based off of what everything says in like the SA and trash and all that stuff. We're going to typically be looking at the raw number for how much a certain item gives to a certain class. So unfortunately, if you're not up here whenever we first get like the chances, we're not going to be going strictly off the rolls in Loot Master. These are just things that we're going to get used to doing because we want to be able to clearly and confidently blast through Mythic to get to Ulatek. Ellie, do you think I'm missing anything?
No, just for your bonus roll target, only select one boss a week if you can, unless you have multiple bonus rolls that you're planning to use that week, just so it'll help us with planning for that. The great news about, like, the boring thing about bonus rolls coming in the vault is it makes your vault boring, but it means that you get the gear that you want probably sooner than you would otherwise, since you can just bonus roll your way to it. Most of everybody's gear is going to be gotten through bonus rolls this season. And then the trinket priority is the other big one. We, like Pika said, we're going off of just sims for like where a trinket is going to have the actual highest value based on the spec. Same way we've always done trinkets, at least for like 3 seasons now. But that's a good way to indicate to us, hey, I really want these 2 trinkets, and I would be happy if I got this 3rd trinket. But so try to get that stuff in by Tuesday if you can.
Not sure if it changes anything for priority. Let's check it out. Let's do this.
One other thing to note real quick. If you are catalyzing gear this season, a lot of classes on Wowhead or elsewhere will have specific like best items to catalyze, so you can get like the mythic version of that item and then catalyze it, because your secondaries are carrying over from whatever item you catalyze this year or this season. So keep that in mind. If you have like a versatility item and you go to catalyze it, it won't give you the tier version of stats. It'll just keep that versatility on it.
just to show you an example of when you select your boss for bonus roll, under the team overview, I'm not sure if everyone has the ability to see this, but for me, it shows that 2 people have selected Ulatek for their bonus roll, for like their main priority, and it's currently Ellie and Hip. So that would be what I would see. And then we've got these people, Day, Ellie, and Hip, that have also put in their. I'm going to be doing a lot of looking at a lot of different websites basically while we're doing raid nights. So just try and get all of this filled out as easy peasy as you can so that I can get to boss with you guys and I don't feel like I'm holding up the raid every night. So just make sure to try to get this as quickly as you can. I would say that you probably don't like just try to get it as quickly as you can before Mythic, I'm going to say, is like when it really super matters. Obviously, right now, your tier pieces do definitely matter, but like when it comes to trinkets and stuff like that, they still matter at least on Heroic, and then they matter a lot whenever you get into Mythic, whenever our higher item level loot comes into play. So just try to get these done as quickly as you can so that I can get through, because we're going to be blasting through normal like there's nobody's business. So just make it a little bit easier for moi, so I make it easier for you guys whenever we actually get to the bosses. And then the same goes for your tier as well. You can put in Ellie here has the helm, shoulder, chest, gloves, legs set up, so I know which tier set not to try and like talk to him about if we see this tier piece show up in a in one of the little tier baubles that creates a shoulder piece, or just any shoulder piece if he has something, you know what I mean? So just trying to make this table that I can use way easier for the raid in general. But I think that's all that I have for the loot side of things.
Yep. Awesome. Yeah, everyone just get into a WoW audit, start updating your stuff. Back to beginning of season, so ask for your diligence there. If you don't have proper stuff in on WoW audit, that will make our lives harder, and we will potentially prioritize those who do have their stuff in, because we won't have a way of knowing what you do or don't want. So get this filled out as soon as you can. Check your class Discord, check your class Wowhead, Icy Vein, and everything else. And again, if you need any help or have questions on that, go ahead and let us know. Any of the officers, we can help you out. Otherwise, for gearing, like I said, there's a bunch of stuff in the Prog announcement that I put out. Please just go back through and review all of that before we get into the season. Get your add-ons updated. Add in the RC Loot Council add-on as well. And just be as prepared as you possibly can. This is the time to go through, get everything knocked out on in-game, but then also everything outside of game, kind of just organize it, get all of your information filled out for the officers to make it easier as we are going through for the season. Also, please be practicing your raid spec and double checking your rotations on Wowhead and Icy Veins and making sure that you have it down by memory. I know a lot of classes have changed what specs they're running, what hero talents they're running, or just general rotation balance. It's vital that you are getting out of old bad habits and into new good ones, so that when it comes time to do all of these crazy mechanics, that you don't have to think about your rotation. If we are seeing people slacking on DPS over the course of the season, I want to make it a big point this season to be working proactively with, well, I guess, and reactively as needed, with users or with everyone as raiders to go through and just address any pain points on their rotations as they're going through the season. So doing that by yourself ahead of time would be awesome. But just know if we reach out, it's just to kind of grow and strengthen the team. And hopefully everyone's kind of got a positive team oriented attitude moving into the season where we're just trying to get the success for the entire group. I'm excited to play with y'all. I'm super grateful to continue to have Cinder around because I have been having a rough, busy, crazy week and still trying to do everything else, and to have Cinder still magically pull a Ulatek prep out of his hat is classic Cinder. So thank you very much, and thank you to the rest of the officer team for supporting in a lot of the ways. It's definitely going to be more of a team effort moving forward. We've got to give Cinder somewhat of a break, as monstrous as that man's brain is. So, yeah. Any feedback, any questions, anything that you need more from us, please let me know. I'm going to be doing my best to have everything prepped and ready here ASAP. Some more things to follow for sure as we get into Mythic, because that will be a whole nother can of worms to open up. So little baby classes as we get to each boss. Be ready for that.
Wednesday. That should be it then for meeting today, yeah?
Yeah. Thanks for sticking around, everyone. Sorry, Ren, this a little longer than anticipated, but
no worries.
I think some good information was covered.
All right, who is doing M0s?
Yes, please.
Yep.
Also, a note for anybody trying to get the map right now,